I've been meaning to do this for a long time, and actually somebody who was in addiction in a recovery center where I worked for a short time said, "Hey, you got to do this." It's to make some videos about addiction and to share them with you guys on YouTube. Now, if there's something I got to warn you about, it's that I'm arrogant and I am condescending and I sound like I know more than I do. I don't have credentials behind my name that give me any permission to share what I'm sharing with you. These are thoughts and viewpoints and opinions and things I've learned that aren't really well sourced or referenced. And that's probably a good reason to turn this off right now. But if you want to hear what I have to say, and I will try to not be condescending or overconfident or sound like I know more than I'm talking about when I share these videos. In fact, that's one of the reasons I was let go from working at the recovery center after a short time. They said, "Hey, this guy's condescending." I don't mean to be, but I have some strong feelings about addiction, partly which I learned from growing up on a therapeutic community for people with addiction. My father started this therapeutic community when I was a baby, and part of it from having a fascination with the brain and a love for learning about some of the things that happen in my own brain and what was happening in the people who are in addiction around me too. So I felt like I just am excited about this information. I want to share it. I feel like anybody who, well, we're all affected by addiction. I was going to say anybody affected by addiction, but we're all affected by somebody with addiction around us. Should know this stuff, should know what's happening in the brain, should know what's happening in these things, or at least would benefit from hearing my viewpoint as if I'm some kind of authority. And I think we've all heard about dopamine. At some point, we've heard about how that dopaminergic system is changed, our reward system for our brain. That's nothing new. What has come from a lot of pondering and my own internal reflection as a person who I think would qualify as short on dopamine, not necessarily because of addiction, but because of pre-existing underdevelopment of my orbitofrontal cortex. And that's something I learned from a doctor, Gabor Mate. I love his books. He's from Vancouver. I'm also from the Vancouver area. And his experience in the Lower East Side, where I went as a kid with my dad, taking people who are in addiction and helping them, is incredible. I highly recommend Gabor Mate's books. Scattered Minds is a fascinating one. He also talks about addiction and some others as well. I have borrowed mostly from his books, but also have read quite a bit of other information which has really inspired me to want to share with people in addiction that there is some hopeful understanding of our brain that helps us, as I've personally experienced, get past some of the natural low self-esteem and an absorption of an identity, which I tell myself I'm useless. I get away from these very unproductive, unhelpful ways of thinking when I can maybe more objectively look at what's happening in my brain, what pre-existingly happened in my brain that led me to where I am. And that's a bit what I wanted to share in some of these videos, in which people have asked to hear too. So I hope there's some people listening.